Hello, here's our report from our visit to Africa in September, where we visited Malawi and Kenya. John Ray and I set off by ourselves at the beginning of September on one of the super duper Kenya Airways 737s, but when we got to Nairobi we were downsized to a turboprop, first time I've ever flown in a propellered aeroplane. Unfortunately, the plane was so small that our luggage didn't fit, and it took the luggage 2 more days to get there. So we arrived in Malawi in Blantyre and were met by Damson Tambwali. He's the bishop of a group of churches and the director of Penuel Christian Primary School. When we first got there, it was for the annual conference of his churches. So we went to the churches on the right, office in front, and school on the left. And I spoke Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, and Saturday evening to the conference people who were there. But the real reason for going was to meet Glory, Damson's daughter, and visit the school and see what's going on there. So I was able to go around all the school, look at each of the classrooms, meet some of the children because the school was just coming in, so not everyone had arrived, and then sit with Glory and just discuss what she's doing in the school, the needs that she has, things like that. I asked her to prioritise the needs in the school for the next 5 years. The school is quite large, and when everyone's in school, there's about 350 pupils. During the holidays, it's time for when the painting can get done, things like that, to spruce up the school. Walls, things like that. Even the play equipment gets a fresh coat of paint. After I'd been to the school, John and I were taken to a village church, and it was absolutely jam-packed. People sitting on mud benches, really praising God and enjoying the ministry that I was able to bring. Damson has in his heart that he wants to go on from primary onto secondary education. So next door to the primary school is a site that belongs to them, and he showed it to me so that we could consider where we could put a secondary school on this land. It just so happened that I happened to have a laser level in my suitcase, so I was able to do a level survey as well as measuring the place out so we can get some idea of the classrooms that could be available for there. We also got taken to the fields that are owned by Damson and the church, and this was a picture of Damson's tomatoes growing. He reckons when everything is harvested from this particular crop, he'll make a profit of about £35. Then John left and went over to Uganda, where he was with Edward, but he met with Sebastian on the right of the picture and the headmaster from Elohim, and was inspired by the exuberance of the children there and also the headmaster's excitement about working there. And then he went to Kakabansiri and the Ray of Hope Primary School and was able to see the children there as well as the teachers' accommodation, which should be ready for use at the beginning of 2020. Meanwhile, I was over in Malawi still, Damson taking me down to where the cyclone affected people in March. This is a shot of a valley. In the centre of the valley you can see there's a lake, but Damson told me that when the rains came, the entire valley was covered with water, like this. Imagine so much crops and houses just getting washed away by the rivers. We travelled on the tarmac road until we reached Nsanje. And when we got to Nsanje, then it went to just Murram. So we carried on the Murram road until we reached the village. And to be honest, I couldn't see how these people could survive. In actual fact, they live week by week from handouts from the World Food Programme, because none of their crops were destroyed in March, and they've not been able to plant since then. In fact, we've been able to help them with seed and fertiliser to be able to plant this season, which is literally happening now. So we were very glad to be able to help with that. We also met a lady and some kids that were around, and I asked, where did the floodwater come to in this village? And she pointed to a certain level up on the bricks, and it was this high. All throughout the whole village, many people's homes washed away. When I saw the situation, we ended up, I had no words to say, honestly, and I had a very nice packed lunch ready to eat once we'd left there, but I just couldn't bring myself. I just gave my entire packed lunch for the three of us, the driver, Damson and myself, and we gave it to the pastor there for him to share out amongst the children. We, on the meantime, stopped at the roadside on the way back and just had ourselves some roast maize. And the irony of it is that when I took this photograph in September, this is the riverbed that was overflowing in March, and now it's dry. We had to go back to print my boarding pass just before I left, and we passed the pound shop. Quite funny to find that there in Blantyre. And finally, in the departure lounge, ready to leave, get on my Jambo jet, turboprop, and back to Nairobi. When I got to Nairobi, the next morning Michelle turned up, and then together we started our journeys. We started off first in Itigo in western Kenya, where we were setting out the foundations for a dormitory block for Akili Foundation's Rehabilitation Centre. So we set up all the profiles, did all the strings, and just the first third of this building. Then we had the groundbreaking ceremony. We did have spades, but they bent in the ground. So we used the djembe, and we were able to do just the groundbreaking with myself and Hosea, and also the chap to the right with the pink tie. He's the director, the CEO of Nakada, which is all to do with drugs and alcohol abuse in Kenya. And he came and also did his part. And he gave us a very encouraging speech just to us there about how he wants to support Akili Foundation. We then had a proper function, and we as trustees of Akili Foundation sat under the thing, marquee, and lots of speeches, lots of people singing and dancing, and a very good time. So many people encouraging Akili Foundation in this. Where Akili Foundation is off the beaten track. It's not even on Murram roads, just on mud roads. And on the two occasions we drove out, once we didn't get stuck, but on the final way out we did. Very, very muddy. We went down to Kisumu, where we met Josek, who's a good friend of ours from when we used to live here. And then we met John Ubeyo. John is the man on the ground for the Obambo project, which is going to be coming under the auspices of Hope in Africa from the 1st of January 2020. Back to Nakuru, where we went to Morning Star Academy, and we were so glad to be able to go there and begin the twinning process of them and Heen School. There you can see the school from the first floor of the one of the education blocks. New toilets that Charter Child had paid for have now been completed. And here's all the school in the hall. And they were together so that I could share with them about Heen School and how Heen School wanted to be their friends. Now we've come back home and done the exact opposite in Heen School about Morning Star Academy, which is great. And we took some pictures of some of the classrooms, and we're hoping to be able to get the children in Heen writing to the children there, and also hopefully we'll be able to get some small fundraising done to help the school, which will be wonderful. On the way to Patrick's house, we saw a very interesting shop, which I thought we'd share with you, the Joyous Mat shop. As we were going out of Kenya, we spent the last day in Nairobi, and we found in a shopping centre a very nice tranquil place. So we just finished our presentation with a couple of shots from that. Very nice. It was soul food for Michelle and I. So thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to help with any of the projects that you've seen, then please contact us on my email, matthew@hopeinafrica.co.uk, or go to our website, hopeinafrica.co.uk, onto the Contact Us page, and we'll answer you as soon as we can. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.